Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of 5 Minutes of Lean. This session's topic is around process mapping. You'll hear it referred to as value stream mapping, or in our organization, a lot of folks are doing swim lane workflows. Hopefully, you'll see them hanging up different places, different spots in the SharePoint site. They are getting used across the organization, and had quite a few people ask for a little bit of a session on some of the fundamentals of them and how they work and what they're intended to do. So going to start just by kind of laying out, I think, 4 keys for me that workflows kind of must do or have to do to be effective. And so the number one, and I think the most important of all of them, is that it must help drive the desired behavior to achieve the desired outcome. And so, a lot of them you could think about, what you're trying to achieve and achieve from a customer's perspective. So whether that's an internal downstream customer or the final external customer at the end of the value stream. But, thinking about, is it cycle time that's important? Is it your quality that's important? Your cost, your predictability? And it could be all of those. So as you're building your workflows, you want to think about those kind of things. What are important and what are the steps to drive that desired outcome? So second tip here is, I think, they've got to be evergreen. And so they really should be a tool or a resource to help kind of inspire, drive, and make efficient continuous improvement. Third thing for me is they have to be accessible. So a lot of times where the work is done, and that could mean different places for different people. So some folks, they work better, being hung up visually in their cube space or in a centralized area where you can see them all connected. For others, it's virtually. So they may want it in SharePoint or somewhere else virtually accessible in a PDF type format. With this, I will put a little warning out. This can be a struggle. So you definitely want to create opportunities for them to be useful. And so point of use where the work's happening, like I just mentioned, but that may also then mean you have more than one version. And so version control becomes a little bit of an effort and is very critical. So try to utilize hyperlinks and ease of version control so that you don't have Rev 1 hanging here and Rev 3 over here and somebody misses out on those opportunities. So you definitely want to create some variability in where it is, because different people want to use it in different ways, but be very careful and cautious around version control. And the last big key thing here is it really needs to be intuitive. So I've been working on a lot of these and more recently evolving into ones that are a lot more simplified than ones that I built maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think a lot of those were really overcomplicated, and it was all just boxes and triangles and somewhat difficult and very much in the weeds. So the newer ones have seemed to be a little more effective, but I also think they're a little more intuitive. So we're putting different colors and different visuals in there that on top of making it a little more fun, make it a little more intuitive for the reader. So if the only way somebody can understand it is if you're sitting there explaining it to them, then you're not going to get the maximum value out of it that you could. So next thing I want to talk about as I kind of wind down here is how you develop one. So we've got a kind of a little process to do that. It's documented in certain steps, and some of the key steps that you want to talk about is your scope. So understanding, is it one hub, multiple hubs, start and end of the process. Very, very important. Getting the team engaged in the creation and implementation. So underline the word implementation. If the team's not engaged in creating it and implementing it, it tends to not be sustained. And that's where a facilitator can really help. If it's all SMEs in there, which you have to develop a good process, you have to have the experts that are executing the work involved in developing the process. But a lot of times a facilitator that's not an SME can really help keep the team on pace, and add that cold eye review and not dispense any solutions, but really help drive the pace of it and the engagement of it. And then lastly, just make sure there's clarity on how you're going to update these things as you find improvements for whether it be cutting your cycle time or reducing your costs, better way of doing things. Make sure you're clear about how you're going to do that. So hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions or need any help with process mapping, please reach out. Thank you.